Welcome to Paley Front Row, part of the Paley at Home series presented by Citi.
Citi believes in the doers, the makers, the movers, and companies like Veeam who process their international payments simply and securely, helping them build their businesses around the world. To do this, Veeam needed a bank like Citi with global scale and networks in 160 markets. So more doers everywhere can do what they do best. For the love of moving businesses forward, for the love of progress. Citi.
Fox Sports is so lucky to be here. Thank you to our partners at the Paley Center. What an amazing event tonight. And we really just want to peel back the curtain on what it's like to cover a World Cup. A lot of us who you'll meet tonight were in Qatar for the Men's World Cup. How many of you guys watched that incredible final? Pretty amazing, right? It was remarkable to see Messi win and finally raise that trophy. And I know many of us know where his new home will be, which we are excited about as well here in the States. But for us, this is about the Women's World Cup, and we are 38 days away, which is pretty remarkable to say. So July 20th to August 20th, that's when all the action will be taking place down under. And I'd been practicing that, and I don't really like how it came out. So I'm going to work on that. I have a little bit longer. But Fox Sports is the home for this World Cup, and we are the English language television home for the world's most premier international soccer tournament. We take so much pride in being that home base. It started in 2015, and we have put so much effort into putting forth an amazing product in the women's game and the men's game, and I'm just so proud to be a part of it. Let's get the party started and really get these introductions going, starting with Karina LeBlanc. She returns to Fox Sports as an analyst this summer following a fantastic experience with us on the ground, and that was at the Women's World Cup in France 2019. She is a 5-time World Cup veteran with Canada. Can you believe that? 5 times for her. She's also pretty impressive right now, somehow managing it all as a mom. She's the GM of the Portland Thorns, a president of ops as well. Karina, please join us on the stage. Hello. And next up, our lead studio analyst and a National Soccer Hall of Famer, former defender for the U.S. men's national soccer team. He's gearing up for an 8th consecutive World Cup as a broadcaster. I learn something new from him every single day, Alexi Lawless. Come on. Hello. Hello. This next woman needs no introduction. I will do my very best. A 2-time FIFA World Cup champion, 2-time FIFA Women's Player of the Year, and one of the greatest players in the history of the game. Fox Sports is so lucky that she is on our team this time around. My friend, Carly Lloyd. This way. All right, and closing our esteemed group this evening, the executive producer of Fox Sports award-winning FIFA World Cup coverage, Vice President of Production, David Neal. David, come on out. Come on out. All right, hello, welcome everyone. And David is responsible for putting us all together on this stage, so thank you, David. Well, we are really honored to be here, and I want to keep this conversational and fun. So if a question comes to mind, feel free, raise your hand and yell it out. I mean, at this point, let's just learn about the World Cup, because we don't believe that this is a job in so many ways. We're so lucky to do this for a living, and we are here to talk about Australia and New Zealand. But first, I figured we should kind of step back in time a little bit to where the World Cup and how it's grown over the years. So that means, not to age you, Lex, but we're going back to 1994 here.
All right.
Your first World Cup.
I mean, I'm right here. Okay.
Right here. How has it evolved? What do you remember from 94? But just to see the growth of the game over those years, what comes to mind?
Well, Jenny, way back in the 1900s, the previous century, when we were running around, Look, I am sitting here with all these lovely people because of the summer of 1994, and I lived the power of what a World Cup can do to an individual, as did these ladies and so many more out there, because it is a platform unlike anything that sports knows. And it introduces new talent, it provides historic moments that live long in memory, and it provides opportunities for us, even though we don't kick the ball anymore, to still be involved. And I love this game. You'll hear me say it 100 times, doesn't matter, men's, women's, co-ed, naked. If people are kicking a ball, I am going to be there. And so to see how far the sport has come in the world, but most importantly here in the United States and Canada and North America, and what is to come with this summer and then going on to 2026, it warms the cockles of my redheaded heart to be a part of it, and I cannot wait for this summer and beyond. Yes, you look back, but I prefer to look forward, and it is good times moving forward on and off the soccer field, ladies and gentlemen.
Did you always know you wanted to be behind the scenes after you're playing, broadcaster?
On television?
Yeah.
Well, I always considered myself an entertainer and a performer.
I
I put on a costume, which is the same thing as a uniform. I walked on a stage, which is the same thing as a field. And I performed in front of fans, which is the same thing as an audience. And it went okay every once in a while, but you wanted that feedback. And so while I don't kick the ball anymore, I still get that excitement and that juice. And when that red light turns on, it is a performance, and I want to make sure that it is impactful and that it is entertaining, so that I give everybody, including my boss, everything that they want. And so people will watch and people will get excited. And I want them to feel the energy. And if I'm not excited about it, how is anybody that's watching going to be excited about it? Luckily, it comes pretty naturally to me to be excited about the game.
I agree. That red light gets you. It's that rush that I think all of us probably got from playing as well. Me, not on the same stage as these women. I will make that very clear. But Karina, I want to talk about 1999. So we are going back to an 18-year-old Karina. Can you imagine first what all of you guys were doing at 18, and Karina is representing her country on the biggest stage? What are your memories from that moment and just your evolution with the national team to now?
So you're aging me too.
Just a little bit.
Okay, good.
Just a little bit.
No, I just remember do you guys remember 1999? Yeah, exactly. So I went, yes, secret's out. I played with Canada. I'm sorry, this is what they didn't say. Sorry. But no, I remember going to that World Cup, and obviously it was my first World Cup, so it was like, okay, you have these dreams. And how that World Cup evolved from the saves from Brian Ascuri and then the iconic moment with Brandi Chastain scoring the goal. I remember almost being a fan at the end and just being like, is this possible? And then 18 years later, thanks for reminding me, like just retiring at a home World Cup in 2015 where the great Carly Lloyd had one of her best games, you're welcome. But like just retiring at a home World Cup where the stands were packed and you had people with your jerseys and it was just a diverse audience, and the impact, speaking of impact, the impact it made in our country, but also globally in the women's game. I think as players, you try to think of that legacy piece of leaving the game better than when you got into it. And I could say like making that last lap and doing the wave to fans, just being like, the future is so exciting, and here are we now.
It is really crazy because 99, I think, shaped it for so many of us. And I see a young fan in the audience, and I think about, sorry to put you on the spot, but I think about her watching these women this summer, and it really does change you. I remember where I was in 99, so you're right about that. Carly, it's wild to think of all the World Cups you've been a part of, 2007, 2011, and 2015 and 19, of course, as World Cup champion. You've had an amazing journey. We're so glad you're on this side of things. But when you think of the World Cup specifically, how has the tournament played a role in your career over the years?
Well, I think over time, my first World Cup in 2007, which was in Beijing, China, you know, you drove around, you got on the bus, and your bus was wrapped in all of the World Cup logos and sponsors and all of that, but you drove around and you didn't really feel like you were at a World Cup per se. The stadiums were semi, packed with fans, but it's just grown with each World Cup. 2011 World Cup in Germany was a bit better, but still you didn't feel that vibe, that excitement. 2015 Must have been the Canadians. They just,
I'm sorry.
we ended up winning in the end, but we provided a very nice, amazing World Cup, and obviously the coverage of Fox coming on board and really, putting everything into us winning a World Cup, and we did, and it just exploded. I mean, just on the world stage, in the U.S., in Canada, and in 2019, again, it just keeps growing and getting better and better. And so I'm really excited for this World Cup. I'm obviously not on the field for this one, but just really excited because this is going to be the biggest, the best, the most competitive. And this is what all the women deserve. And young girls like yourself here, the 2023 team is going to be the 99 team for us. So it just keeps getting better and bigger, which is as it should.
As it should. And Fox Sports is so committed to that, and that's where this guy comes into play. David Neal has covered and produced some of the biggest sporting events that we have all seen in this room. So you should write a book about all your stories. I know you have many. But David, what about a World Cup makes it stand apart from all the rest? Because it's almost hard to put into words why it's so different, but I would love to hear it in your words.
Well, coincidentally, I was in Sydney, Australia for the 99 final. I was with NBC at the time when we were preparing for the Olympics, the 2000 Olympics. And that's the real comparative equation for me. The Olympics are amazing. The Olympics, they've grown exponentially. There's now 36 sports in the Summer Games. It's a massive undertaking. And I did 9 of them for NBC. And I thought that there'd be nothing that could quite get to that pinnacle, but the World Cup surpasses it. And I think it's because with the Olympics, as great an event as it is, with the Olympics, each day you have to start by educating the audience what's going to be on. Today it's going to be gymnastics and diving, and tomorrow it's going to be track and field and beach volleyball. You kind of have to do a reset every day. With the World Cup, it's a solid month of one sport, the world's most popular sport, being played at the very highest level. And that's one of the things that's intrinsic to really the definition of the World Cup and why I think it's so popular.
That's so true. That's a great way to look at it. Many of us in this room were most recently in Qatar, so it feels like a little bit like it was just yesterday and also like it was a long time ago. But Lex, Carly, David, I just want to hear your perspective about the competition, what it was like being there, the United States and their run, and just the storybook finish, because it was almost too good to be true. So Lex, maybe starting with you, with the United States, I mean, how pleased were you with them getting out of the group ultimately?
I was pleased with them getting out of the group. I wanted more. I'm greedy like that. But if I look at this as a World Cup, look, we like to think we control a lot of things, and we do control a lot of things from a television perspective. But one thing we can't control is ultimately when the whistle blows and the game happens. But if you look at this World Cup, I'm hard-pressed to think of one, certainly from a final game perspective, but in totality, that was as competitive and as inspiring and had more drama going through. And we have nothing to do with that, but it's our job to document it. And that's exactly what we did. And every World Cup, as David and everybody knows that's been to a World Cup, is a different type of story. And you can try to predict where it's going to go, but usually it goes in very, very different directions, and you have to prepare. But then you have to kind of follow it where it's going to go. And I think we did a good job of following it. The U.S. team is always going to be an important part of that story. And I think that team under Greg Berhalter had moments where I think it was awesome, and moments where you said, we should do better. And I think that comes from an American perspective, maybe of wanting to be the best, wanting to win. And from a men's perspective, that is not something that we have done, which makes what happens this summer with the women that much more interesting and different, but appealing, to be able to talk about and follow a team that is not only good, but is historically good and wins and backs up everything that they do on and off the field with a consistent winning. And Americans, we certainly appreciate that. And a consistent way of making history. And this is all about history. So to play a little small part in this history and to be there when it happens, whether it's the men getting out of the group and going further and doing things, and then the women just continuing to do things and possibly making history by being the first women's team, first men's or women's team to win 3 World Cups in a row. Count me in for that. That is awesome. But Each World Cup, like I said, is a different story. Qatar was something that I'll never forget, but I guarantee in a few months from now, once Australia and New Zealand is over, we will have all of these other stories. And I've already been down there, as some of us have. They are prepared. They are psyched. This is going to be incredible, not just on the field, but the preparation, and I think the way that both of those countries embrace this game, and therefore the world ends up embracing this tournament. It's going to be really fun to be down there.
Carly, what was a big takeaway for you from Qatar?
Well, I was a rookie going in to debut my TV skills.
She was not a rookie.
Learning from everybody on the desk with me. But no, it was really, when I finished playing, I had, kind of no idea where life was going to take me and the avenues. But had the opportunity and really glad that it was something that I was maybe not as comfortable or wanting to necessarily do. And as I've always done, I'm trying to get myself in uncomfortable positions so that I can continue to learn and grow and become better. So I went for it, and I had 8 straight working days alongside of Alexi in his pink tie for most
Take
of the
good with the
most
bad,
of the
right?
trip.
Okay. Got it.
But it was really incredible. I mean, it was way different work than on the field, obviously, but to be able to talk about the beautiful game of soccer, the World Cup was incredible. It was so exciting to be able to watch teams like Morocco. I mean, just so inspiring. And then obviously, being able to witness the final. I came back and was able to witness the final in person. But it was a great World Cup. And, just like on the women's side, the men's side, it just continues to get better and better. And, it was really great and honored to be part of it.
David, how about you?
It's sort of a logistical thing. I really remember the fact that for the first time, and probably the only time ever, the World Cup, everybody was in the one city. It was all based in Doha. Qatar is such a compact country as it is that there was no need to have satellite hotels like in Russia, for example, in 2018. We had people changing planes at 3 in the morning to get to St. Petersburg or something. So it was great having all of us in the same hotel, in the same city. We could see the game people every day. We could see the pregame people every day. It just made for a more collegial experience, and I think it improved the content of the broadcast as well.
I totally agree. And it was so unique that all of us could, at the end of an amazing day, after seeing all these matches, then debrief together. And it'll be unique for me with the U.S., mostly in New Zealand for the beginning of the tournament. So I won't see my colleagues on the daily. And that's just a unique part of a World Cup, right? So sticking with David and just how we as a company have tried to continue to evolve and just put on the best show, right? It started in 2015, and I'm so proud of what we've always put forth with the women. What can we expect from this World Cup in terms of a production level?
Well, I think we're going to keep raising the bar higher. I've told you this story before. When I came to Fox after being at NBC for some 30 years, the ultimate meeting was a meeting with David Hill, the legendary founder of Fox Sports, and Eric Shanks, who's our boss now. And they both laid out to me, they said, it's important that you understand before you take this job that we want the women's World Cup to be on exactly the same level playing field as the men. We don't want it to be treated as a little bit boutique, extra side event, whatever. We want to focus all of our resources fully on the women, just the same way that we will on the men when they come around. And I have to tell you, without exception, Hilly and now Eric have stayed true to that. They value the women's tournament and women's sports in a way that I would argue no other network does, at least not consistently. So to me, being able to have the tools, to have the resources and the backing from your bosses to go out and do it, that to me is huge. It's why we're here, why more people care about it maybe than they might have otherwise. So I just want to see us raise the bar. ESPN did a fabulous job with the World Cup. They were the previous rights holders. And I think that there were some people in the soccer world who were convinced that it was going to be the end of civilization as we know it once Fox took over. People that thought that we would have Bart Simpson hosting, stuff like that. And the pressure was, we all felt the pressure there. You remember.
Yeah.
And I think that we arguably took the very high standard, the high bar that ESPN had set, and we raised that bar and sort of proved ourselves as worthy custodians of the event. And so I'm eager to see what we all do collectively to raise the bar again, because now we're building on our own past history.
Mm-hmm. And it also helped that we had Carly Lloyd
That
there
helped.
to
Yeah,
help us
that helped.
go all the way and win it, because it was, I will never forget how special 2015 was. I mean, unbelievable.
Hat trick for Lloyd.
Unbelievable.
Well, I think what was special too, and I don't know, I jumped in
No,
here,
tell
but
me.
I can remember when you all came to our hotel during one of the camps, and it was a big meeting. It was a PowerPoint that was thrown up and about the plans of what you all wanted to do and the trust that we needed to have in you and vice versa. And it was the first time that we really essentially kind of had to let somebody in a little bit more than we usually did. And on both sides, we both took a gamble. And without that coverage, without that support, without our performances, I mean, I don't know that things would be as big as they were without that. So
I agree, and without the access that you and the team granted us. The only one who was really uneasy about it was Jill. She kept saying, don't tell the players they're great. Like, we had a marketing guy who came in and said, you need to know, the women's team, these are badass athletes. And Jill's like, no, don't say that. You proved us right. Yeah.
Jill was too worried about watering all the artificial surfaces.
I just remember that World Cup because it's interesting because you guys had the studio downtown Vancouver.
Right.
And so again, I'm playing for the host country and we would be talking about that setup because again, never had we seen anything like it. And even when we lost early, I ended up having the pleasure of working with you guys because it was one of those things where that was the next bar and I wanted to be a part of it. So even from somebody on the outside looking in, it was like a wow. And it was like, thank you for doing that for us. And it wasn't just for this country, but it was globally.
Wow.
Yeah, Karina wasted no time, by the way. It was over saying,
You're retired?
you don't have a goalkeeper on your staff.
I love to talk goalkeeping.
Oh, we dealt with some crazy time zone changes in Qatar. A lot of the matches were 9 o'clock. 9? Was it 10?
10.
9.
10.
10?
Yep.
We would go to bed at 3 in the morning. It was very odd. We were sleeping till 1. It was very bizarre. But David, with Australia, I mean, how will the time difference affect this tournament? Because in a lot of ways, it is a challenge in covering a World Cup.
It is. And FIFA is very aware of the fact that the United States is an enormous growth market for the sport, and particularly women's soccer. So to recognize that, 2 of the 3 group stage games for the U.S. will be played in New Zealand. You'll be in New Zealand for the whole first, 2 and a half weeks in New Zealand, because the U.S. is playing all 3 of their group stage matches in New Zealand. And 2 of those 3 matches are being played at 1 p.m. New Zealand time, which is the heart of prime time here back in the U.S. So I haven't really talked to my colleague former players here, but I don't think that puts the U.S. at a disadvantage to be playing at 1 in the afternoon.
It wouldn't be my first excited game time.
Well, I'll feel guilty then.
But there's no heat,
Yeah,
so it's
no
winter,
heat,
so they'll be fine.
But so as a result, we'll be able to have 2 of the 3 U.S. women's group stage games live in prime time, and then assuming that they win their group and advance, the first game in the knockout round will also be live in prime time.
Which is great.
Yeah.
And that's a big win for us,
huge.
right? Carly, just a quick note on this being such a big role for you now as a broadcaster, but is there anything about this that surprised you that maybe you expected about TV that you didn't realize, and now that you're in it on this side of things, you have a different appreciation for?
I think, just kind of being back in a team setting, right? I mean, this is a big team and everybody has their role to fulfill. And it's just been amazing to, just be around great people, uplifting, positive, welcomed me in Qatar. I mean, I was literally just thrown out of the gate, no experience, and just tried to hold on as fast as I could and learn, get better. I think that's the beauty of this is, being part of Fox Sports, everybody wants to learn and grow, and that's always what I've been about as a player, coming in with absolutely no ego. There's always room for growth, and that's what I love. And I think it's something that, again, like I said, I wasn't really excited about nor thinking that I would ever be in this position to have this opportunity. So, yeah, really grateful, and just want to keep learning from the famous Lexi Lawless
You're
here.
figuring it out. You're pretty
He's
good.
very good at pronunciations. Very good at pronunciations.
Very good. Karina's even better.
Karina and I we were talking about pronunciations before we came on stage, and we were like, we have a month, you're good. Like, just do them in a month. But Karina, I don't know how you balance it all. You impress me as a mom, obviously with the Thorns, you're working with us. I mean, Do you sleep? Actually, that's a very good question. I feel like you're a very busy lady, but I love getting to know you in France. So for you to come back for this World Cup, how are you approaching the World Cup this time around, and how are you balancing it all?
No such thing as balance. But I think we were just talking about this. It's the excitement, as Carly just said. It's like when you've been playing and you've been in that team atmosphere and you're surrounded by people who are kind of connected on the same bigger goal. You miss that when you retire. And I think being a part of the Thorns organization, I get to be a part of that, but it's still from a distance. Like, this is like team. You get to talk about the sport you love. The world is watching. The World Cup is like nothing else, right? You play in it and you experience it. And I think in France, I had got an opportunity to experience it on this side, and I fell in love with it in a different way. It's the red light, for sure. It's the adrenaline of everything that's going on. But I think for me, with my new role, it's also, I'm excited to see the new talent that the world will get to know, you know, because we see it day in and day out. Sophia Smith, yes, we know her in this country. I'm so much looking forward to the world getting to understand who she really is. So it's the big names, but it's those names that you don't really know, and they rise in this moment, and you become a fan of them, and you almost become like, yeah, we're family, we're in this together. And it's all of that, but at the same time, it's also the simplicity of watching soccer, or football as the world calls it, and just getting to enjoy it with people that you know appreciate it, people who have the same passion towards it as you, and then, as Lexi said, giving that energy out there so that other people will be like, yeah, I love this game, because truly this game made me who I am as a woman today, and I am so indebted to this game, and for me, it's an opportunity just to share that passion with the world.
Well, with 38 days out, Alexi, can you share any stories that you're excited about? Maybe storylines that are kind of on your mind right now? I mean, what jumps out to you as we prepare for Australia and New Zealand?
Well, I mean, first off, the size of the World Cup. Oh, can I just go back? Just because
Yes.
One of the wonderful things, I've been around a long time, and I've worked a lot of World Cups. Old, but I'm older.
And haven't been to any games.
No, I haven't seen a World Cup game in decades. Because I'm in the studio, but I love to do it. I'm a rat there in the studio. But one of the great things about my job is I get to work with wonderful people. And I think a couple of you mentioned this teamwork aspect of it. It's not all kumbaya. We have our good days and bad days, and we fight and we do all that. But I get to work with incredible people, including these three wonderful women up here. I've worked with all three of them at different times. And they bring it. And as anybody that's been on television will tell you, that it's not as easy as just when you're sitting on your couch screaming and yelling saying, I could do that. It's a very different type of performance. And all three of these, and certainly you two, learned very, very quickly. And it was fun to see that, and to see you get into it, to challenge yourselves, to challenge me, to challenge others, because ultimately that makes a better broadcast. And every World Cup is different, but again, this family and this team is going to get together this summer. And there's ups and there's downs, it's not linear, and it's fun to see that. It's fun to see stars being made, it's fun to see those moments, and it's fun to see ultimately, in totality, what you produce as documenting this stuff. What was your other question?
Oh, top storylines. I was like, boy, I feel good. Yeah, thanks.
Storylines, I mean, from a U.S. perspective.
Okay, let's talk U.S. first. U.S. perspective, we know what's at stake.
Yes.
Simple question then, can they do it?
Absolutely they can do it. I mean, they are badasses.
2019,
all right?
you said we couldn't do it. Now,
I am here, and they still haven't paid me to motivate, all right? I am here to motivate people, all right? Look, this is a team, as we know, that is going through a transition that just comes with time. Some of the names are still there that you know and love, whether it's a Megan Rapinoe or who's coming back, Julie Ertz. I remember Julie Ertz when she was Julie Johnson. I remember making her cry on set in Canada. Yeah. Got that one. Check that one off the box.
For the better or for the worse?
That's pretty easy.
Yeah, what did you do?
So Julie she was still young at this point, and she was at that point she was still playing center back. And the previous game that had sent you guys through,
I know. Yeah.
she should have gotten a red card. She took someone down, and it was a pivotal moment. And this is going to make sense eventually here, okay? Well, she came on the set, and as you were saying, for a lot of the women, it was the first time they were actually seeing it live. And I asked her about that, and you could see the wheels spinning, that she was figuring out well, if I actually had gotten a red card, we might not be here, and ultimately we might not be
Happening.
going forward and all that. And it all just kind of came at her in that moment. Don't worry, she's gone on to great things. As a matter of fact, she's back after almost a 2-year hiatus, and I think she's going to be there this summer. We'll see what kind of Julie Ertz that we see this summer. But you know, these are the types of things that make the players better, that make the teams better.
Carly, I want to stick with the U.S. I want your thoughts on this squad. I know we don't have a final roster yet. We have we have a big idea on who will be on the team. But what do you make of this group? Because you mentioned some young rising stars. How confident are you that the United States can lift that trophy again?
You know, I just think it's always so hard to predict, right? In 2015, we started out a little rough, and everybody was saying we weren't going to make it out of the group stages, which I'm sure you guys were hitting the panic button a little bit. And then we kicked it into gear. A couple yellow card suspensions, some formations changed, and we figured it out the rest of the way. 2019. Small margin again to win. So as me playing in 4 World Cups, knowing what the media has always said coming into it, during, it's so hard. I mean, they're favorites, of course. They have the talent, they have the depth, but there's also so many unknowns. I don't know how. I've gotten to play with some of the younger, less experienced World Cup players. I don't know from a mental capacity, because when you get to a World Cup, it is so incredibly hard to lift that trophy at the end of 7 games. There's so much you have to navigate. There's lots of unknowns. There's lots of unexpected things that come your way. And so for me, I don't know how some of those players are going to do in those pressure-filled moments. So that is a big question mark. Obviously, you've got the likes of, Megan Rapinoe going to be there, probably maybe not as much playing time as she's had in the past. Alex Morgan on the field, Alyssa Nair, Becky Sauerbrunn, who have kind of been there. So there's a blend there, but I do think that they're the favorites. I just think it's really hard for me to sit here and predict, because, it's just, and that's a good thing, because that's how far the game has come, and there's so many other teams that can contend, which is great for the sport. I certainly think that they can do it. It's just going to be a matter of, can they stay injury-free? Can they come together? And can it all start to gel up and sync up in that 7th game when they lift that trophy?
And unfortunately, there always are injuries, right, that come into play. And there are some names and faces we're not going to see. Mallory Swanson is one of those players for the U.S. who was recently injured, and that's a big blow. So how do we handle some of those injuries, Lex? When you talk about the U.S. and the attack, are you confident they'll be able to replace her in a lot of different ways? I mean, do you worry about them scoring goals?
Next woman up, right?
Okay.
I mean, and there's a reason why the U.S. is so good. It's because of not just the 11 that are there, but the depth that we have. To be honest, just from a cultural perspective, the amount of money and resources that we have put in for now decades, some of it, literally in terms of the laws that we have put into place, they have given us an incredible head start. And to your point, one of the great things about a World Cup is seeing some of these names that maybe we don't know rise up and take a hold of that opportunity, and in doing so completely change their lives. But they will also have grown up watching this team, now multiple generations, and watching Carly and all of these players, and wanting to be there. And look, we all stand on the shoulders of others, but what they have built is not only more opportunity, but also more expectation. And I think that this generation is much more able to withstand and recognize, and in a certain way, embrace that opportunity, but embrace the expectation that we have. So I think that Vlatko Andonovski, the head coach, he's got some decisions to make, and certainly if he had his way, there wouldn't be all guns blazing, but it happens. And whether it's Canada or England or others, we're dealing with a lot of injuries here, and that's why coaches are hired, to figure it out. And you better have the depth, and you better have other people that are able to step up. And sometimes the only way you get on the field is because the soccer gods smile on you and they don't smile on somebody else. But hey, there's your opportunity to go out there and perform in a World Cup. And it might not come the next time. So you better take it with both hands. And I love the fact that there's that smell in the air of opportunity for the U.S. and for other teams. And we will be talking about names that we don't normally talk about right now because of some of that opportunity.
A star is always born at the World Cup, and right now we don't know who that's going to be, and I think that's what excites us in so many ways. Karina, I got to give you a chance to talk about those Canadians. Canada, how are you feeling over there? How's your team? How confident are you for them at this World Cup?
Well, I'll say a couple things just to add to. So playing against Americans, let me tell you something. First of all, talking about memories, probably best memories throughout my career was Canada, USA, because US, blood, absolutely. Like you're wearing the right colors, But the thing is, we would some games like 60th minute, we got this, we're good, okay, and then to your point. You look over and there's 3 substitutions coming on and it's 3 world-class players. And it's the depth for the American teams is why consistently you guys have to be a part of that conversation. Canada, speaking of injuries, we've had some big injuries. Janine Becky, Tori ACL, Christine Sinclair, whose birthday is today. I won't say what year, but it starts with a 4. 0. She's still playing, and she's still playing phenomenal soccer.
She's only 40.
I know, but women don't like to talk about age. Okay, it's her birthday today. Greatest goal scorer, man or woman. I think you can't rule her out. You have Jessie Fleming, you have Kadisha Buchanan. Both of them just won an FA Cup with Chelsea. I think it's public where Ashley Lawrence is going. If not, don't tweet. But you have a lot of, the players are getting good caliber games day in and day out. The biggest player for me will be Kaylin Sheridan in the back. Not because I'm a goalkeeper, but it is the best position in the world. She will need to have a phenomenal World Cup. We've seen in the NWSL, she makes these great saves throughout the season, but she will need to let the game, and you'll understand this, let the game come to her. Young goalkeepers in their World Cup start to try to make all these big saves to make the big moment. As long as she can do that, I think Canada has a chance. I think there's other teams, obviously, CONCACAF region, and I know you didn't ask this question, but I'll just go into it. Who knows CONCACAF? 4 of you, perfect. Just kidding. So CONCACAF is the Confederation of North America, Central America, and the Caribbean countries. We have 2 debutantes with Panama and Haiti, and I think Haiti's going to be one of those sleeper countries where, again, we talk about the investment in the women's game. The money that's gone into these countries, these players are playing professional contracts, they're playing year-round. I think that's why you'll see a lot of teams surprise some people, and you'll see a lot more players being at that level that we get to see week in and week out at the NWSL. I'll be quiet now.
No, never be quiet. I just love listening to you chat about your passion for the game. I've missed you. I missed
you too.
You've got to talk about, or this, I may be ruining the question. I mean, Canada, they won the last Olympics.
See, that's the thing.
So what's the mindset coming in?
Here's the thing. So Canada's done well at the Olympics, right?
Which I was not happy about.
Yeah. We've found a way to get a gold medal and 2 bronzes. I think we've never done it at the World Cup. And that's going to be the question. Can they put it together? As Carly said, it's very hard to be successful over the tournament. You can be successful in the group stages. You can be successful in 1 or 2 games. But it's the team that evolves, the team that continues to get better, the team that doesn't just rely on 1 or 2 people, but people rise. And I think that's the question for me with the Canadians is, can we rise in time throughout the tournament to peak at the end, not necessarily at the beginning?
Boy, any other sleepers that we want to highlight? Any other teams, Lex, that you're looking at specifically that could make a run here?
I mean, look, again, safe money. The U.S. has a handful of teams that's around the same level of. So I talked earlier about England, and while I love making fun of them, they're also a very good team, and they feel an opportunity going forward. You're always going to have your Germans. You're always going to have Canada being there going forward. Sleepers? I don't know. I mean, I enjoy, whether it's a Vietnam or a Philippines or a Portugal coming in. Like new teams, I want to see. I remember watching Spain, a couple World Cups, and being, they just haven't got it. By the way, Spain, if you want drama, go for Spain this summer because they're going through a whole lot of drama. I'll let you look it up, but it's part of the story and the ups and downs that go on during a World Cup. But hopefully, whether it's any of these teams that you're talking about, you hope that when you come out of a World Cup, that you're in a better position, not just a better position in terms of the results that you got, but also the perception around the world, and in particular back home in some of these countries and cultures that are now seeing it. Women's soccer, it's not a charity, and it cannot be treated like a charity. And I think a lot of business is now being associated with women's soccer, and that's a good thing. You put the resources in, and it's a good business decision. Not just about feeling good. And a lot of that comes from that perception, and that perception can be created every single time that there is an opportunity in a World Cup. And I think we're going to see a lot of that come out. And sometimes it happens with an incredible result that a young generation in some country that hasn't been there before says, I remember I was 5 years old or 6 years old, and I saw that, and it changed the way that I think about myself, it changed the way I think about the game, it changed the way I think about life, and it changed the way that I think about my country. And that's, again, that power of what the World Cup can do.
There's so many moments. I wish we could continue this conversation all night. I mean, I have loved chatting with all of you. Do you have any last words before we wrap this thing up? David?
Don't sleep on Australia.
Don't sleep on Australia.
And I'm going to say don't sleep on Ireland.
Yeah.
I think Ireland's going to be a little dark horse.
Wait, but they're in Canada's group. Come on, Chloe.
Yeah, they are. I was just going to say that.
Got to see
Never
what
been
Canada's
on a panel that's talked more about Canada.
I know. I was like, thanks, guys.
Canada and goalkeepers. Oh my God.
I mean,
We're going to have fun this summer, aren't we?
Australia.
I just want to say thank you all first to all of our panelists for being here